So, welcome to the show. My name is Curtis Walker. I am a blogger and I am a student, and obviously I work. Welcome to Talks from the Heart with Curtis Walker. This is on Facebook Live. It's a great platform. I think that in today's day and age where social media is so prominent in the way that we communicate with one another, whether it be through Instagram Live or through Facebook or Snapchat or any of the other social media platforms that we use. We find that many people do it. So thanks to Facebook for creating this, and I think that we have the opportunity to use it, and we can use it for good. So here we are. This is Talks from the Heart, and I guess I kind of, I'm just going to talk. I don't really have any talking points, so to speak. If you look at my LinkedIn page, you see aspiring motivational speaker. Excuse me. And there's truth to that. I believe that we all have a story, so to speak, and that we can all teach each other and we can all support one another. And there's benefits in that, learning the lessons that others have gone before you and being able to take those lessons and apply into your heart. As the Bible says, a wise man learns from those obviously that are wiser than him, that have some life experiences. And my life experiences, as we always say, that life is the combination of the things that you've experienced, and that's what makes it life. So Talks from the Heart, I guess it gets its nexus. Oh, but before I get to that, I guess you probably want to know what CK Live 27105 are. In a nutshell, CK Live 27105 is basically a platform of positivity, information. That's the hope, that you receive information and that information inspires you to be the best version of yourself and to be informed about the things that are going on. Obviously, we live in a day and age right now that we've just gone through the election cycle, and now we are experiencing, I guess from a day-to-day life standpoint, we're still involved with the COVID-19, otherwise known as a pandemic. Whether you agree or not agree, whether you wear masks or not wear masks, nevertheless, it is real and it is impacting our lives. Obviously, there are people that have lost their jobs. Their lives have been a little chaotic, and then there's obviously school, how it's impacted schools, impacted childcare, it's impacted the economy, it's impacted transportation. For those of you that are Latino, look at the situation over in South America and Venezuela and Colombia, with the Maduro regime. Understanding that Venezuela was one of the largest importers of oil in the world, and now their oil production has ground to a halt. There's some connection there with Iran, and there's the United States sanctions against Venezuela. So we see how the world, even though it is singular, but yet nevertheless it is still interconnected, how things impact us. The price of gas, if you've noticed, has gone up a little bit since President Biden has come into office in his administration. The Keystone situation, where 11,000 workers have pretty much lost their job, and now we're dealing with energy and how that will impact the things that we do. I don't know if people realize just the price of gasoline impacts a lot of things. I'm a supply chain student, so I understand that there is a butterfly effect with the price of gas. Guess what? Transportation. Transportation affects what? The supply chain, from getting things from point A to point B. Basically what supply chain is. Getting things from point A to point B affects the price in the store when you go in to buy it. It also affects the price of the manufacturer buying their goods and getting those goods processed into a finished product, which then gets transported to you, whether that be a truck or a plane or a car or railroad or a cargo ship. We're all impacted by the little things that happen to a certain degree. In fact, it impacts our life to a large degree, even though we may not think about how it is impacting us. So there's a lot that's going on in the world today. We're fortunate to have the opportunity to continue to have basically a similar lifestyle for the moment, but at the same time we want to be aware and we want to have empathy as well as sympathy for those that are struggling. So kind of be aware and so to speak, be your brother's keeper in a good sense, that you want to be able to pick people up, which brings me back to the point. So I do blog And the name of my blog is Positivity Matters in Life. And that blog it's basically says what it says. You try to take a positive spin on pretty much anything that you encounter. And there is truth to the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. But there's also attitude. They say that life is 90% 90% reaction and 10% of the things you do. So how you take on your life and how you react to the things that go on in your life play a big role in a lot of things, including your health. If you don't want to be totally angry and walking around upset at the world, and we know that life is not fair. It's just, unfortunately, in this life, life is not fair to all of us. I mean, we're not all on the same playing level, yet still in the same life field. It's a unique dynamic that life gives us, and now we're experiencing a little bit of that. And so, from my personal experience and my personal opinion, we look at things that are going on. You obviously have the impeachment process going on. We've had social unrest and the argument for social justice and reform, particularly towards Black and brown people, people of color, however you choose to identify it. And we also have sort of an equity movement with people of different persuasions that are seeking, I guess, basically to get equal treatment. And there are people that have strong opinions, and I'm an opinionated person. I like to think that we all are opinionated, some more than others, or some are more vocal with their opinions. And I think that that is actually a good thing, because the whole concept of communication is the ability to hear, decode, to understand, decipher, and to be able to generate a retort or reply to the person, so they might hear and understand you as well. And that's the process of communication. And I think that in today's day and age, we kind of get away from that, because we're so eager to get our message out, but we're not as eager to receive a message coming back in. And I like to think that we probably need to be less judgmental, even though we should be judging things. And from a Christian perspective, when I hear people say the Bible, Christians shouldn't judge, I would say that I think, when we become Christians and we accept Christ, that sometimes we leave our minds at the door. And I don't think that God intended, again, I'm speaking for me. I'm not speaking for any organization or anything that I'm a part of. I'm speaking for me, from my own biblical understanding, that we don't leave our minds at the door, nor do we leave our heart at the door, nor do we leave our will at the door. And the reason I will say that is because you're constantly judging and discerning things on a daily basis, whether it means stop at the red light, which dozen of eggs to buy, what you pay your bill now or later, who should you talk to, who should you allow in your circle, if something is true, if it's not, how does this impact you? We're constantly judging, and we're constantly discerning. There's a difference between that judging and then condemning. We should condemn the things that are wrong. We should hold fast to those things that are true and that are good and upright. And but we don't have the ability, per se, as a Christian, from the Christian biblical perspective, and again, I'm speaking for me, to condemn anyone to hell. And hell is a touchy subject for some, but unfortunately, I did not write the Bible. I was not there when the Bible was written. I can honestly say that, but I'm pretty clear on biblical transmission down through the years. And my argument is not with people that have the problem with L. My argument would be that that's there. It's in the text. So that's an issue between you and God. And again, I'm speaking to me, and I'm trying to be sympathetic, but I clearly want to take the stance that there are definitely some definites in life. If there were no definites in life, then I think that our world would be a world of anarchy. And we see a little bit of the attack on definites and firm standings. Culture has changed from 20, 30 years ago until what it is now. Obviously, individualism is a big part of capitalism, and we're seeing a gradual decay or a moving away from that to more of a corporate society where people think more alike instead of the individual ways that could or were impacting society. Um, and we see a lot more groupthink. It's a different generation, a different culture that we're growing up and we're becoming accustomed to. You can become accustomed to it, and yet at the same time, you still have to make your own decisions and live the way that you would like to live. So there is something that I will get to, and it's called the political process. And I wrote this um, as the final statement to a Constitution Day event that I had the opportunity to take part of in school. But I believe the message um, is applicable even outside of that forum. And I'm definitely going to get to that. But Michael Oliver, big shout out to Michael Oliver, is the reason that I'm actually having the time to do what I'm doing right here and speak to you. Though I may be an inspiring motivational speaker, I think that this actually came from a question. So Michael asked me, we used to be employees at Tyson Foods, and then I'm doing something different now, and he's doing something different. And so on Facebook, I guess he said that he would like to get the opportunity to talk to me about my approach on my life. And because when I was at Tyson, I was definitely one of the people, again, that thinks that you can always do better, that there's more out there for you. I believe there's an article written about that by Ali Lindbergh, I think it is. And she wrote an article, and the article I said that, the people that impact my life many, many years ago just made the statement that, there's more out there for you. And so I'll get into that now. Thanks again, Michael, for the question. And if there's any other questions, then feel free to drop me a note on Messenger or Facebook, and I'll do my best to answer that. So let me tell you a little bit about me. So my name is Curtis Christopher Walker. I'm named after my father. His name was Curtis Walker, and I'm going to be clear and opaque a little bit here. So my father and my mother were never married. I am originally born in St. Mary's Hospital in West Palm Beach, Florida. And I believe around the age of 7 or 6, I remember getting on the Delta airplane and having a little Delta cards, and the stewardess would take care of me. I had the Michael Jackson afro, long way from then. And I came to New York, and we lived in Brooklyn and Brownsville. From there, we gradually moved to Queens, I believe it was, and then finally on into Long Island. So I lived quite a few places in my life, but mostly in Hempstead, Long Island, where I was raised, and I had the opportunity also to be a student in Syosset Junior High for a couple of years. And most of my life, I grew up in New York until 2012, which is when I came to North Carolina. So in lieu of that, when Michael asked me about me and what makes me go, and how do I get from there to here, because he saw me there and now he's seeing the things that I'm involved with now, and just when the chat, how do you just do it? How do you just do it? And I do believe there is something to the ability to get up and just go. I think that growing up in a larger city, a different culture, I did not know what racism was until I was maybe like 18, because I didn't experience it on that level. I can remember, and I always tell this story about growing up and attending Southwest Junior High in Syosset, Long Island, and having the opportunity to go to the auditorium. That's what we do back then. And here it was Black History Month, and I was the only black kid, colored kid, brown kid, however you choose to identify. I identify myself as Curtis, because I've never introduced any of my friends, this is my white friend or my black friend. I've always introduced them by their name. It's a funny thing how that works, and I wish that more people would take that. That's my personal opinion, and take that approach, and maybe that would get us past some of the wounds and that we have, the scabs that we have as a nation. Anyway, the point being is we were going to a Black History Month, and it was me, David Weinstein, Patty Dranko, quite a few people, and they started playing the "We Shall Overcome" song, and we were all sitting there. So remember though, in a predominantly white school, I would say all white school at that time, Caucasian, Blanquito, however you want to say it, and I was the only, obviously, and we were just kind of looking at each other like I didn't know what it meant at that time because my mother didn't expose me to the things that she exposed me, even though she grew up during the civil rights movement. I did not grow up during the civil rights movement. And I guess I was either shielded for it or basically life was happening so much that, it just was, I was unaware of it at the age of, I don't know, 11 and 12 years old. So, and then I went to school there for a couple of years, played on the football team, ran track, um, tried out for the baseball team. Don't think I made it at that time. But nevertheless, here it is that a colored black kid is the only black kid in that school. And I didn't know what that was. So that was my initial experience. Now, going through life, I grew up to about 18 or 19. And then I kind of knew that, there was, something wrong with society and my own way of thinking, like, what's this about? And now I'm much older and I know that things have happened, even though I've read about it in a book as a child, 14, 15 years old. You don't really see the impact on a personal level until it actually affects your life. As I say, things that happen don't mean anything until it affects you. And I experienced that there is a truth to that. And I also know that just because there is a truth to that, that doesn't necessarily change the way that you think, act, and feel about other people, because all my life I did not feel that way. And then to experience it, it does cause you to think, but at the same time, I think that you are who you really are. And I believe that if more of us were to act on our core ideals, and some of our core ideals may be totally different than mine, that's a fair assessment. I think that would go a long way to us as a people, as we say the word race. And I always get back into the origin of the species, a book that I wrote. Not a book that I read, and I've never ever encountered. And I'm pretty clear. I'm wearing black. I can clearly see that I'm brown, and this is black. I've never met a person that looks this color. And I make the statement all the time. And some people agree with it, they don't agree with it, but there's truth to it. And I hold up a white piece of paper too, and I've never met a person that color. I've met people in between those colors, plenty of them, all up and down the shade spectrum. As we say, we're more color shades, and I know that each and every person is 99.8% alike. And I know that if you take the skin off of each and every one of us, we all look pretty much alike underneath. So those are just my personal opinions, though. Just throwing out little tidbits of information of how it is that I think, because sometimes I think that you never, as they say, you don't really understand a person till you understand where he came from. And then you get an idea about how they think, which is the great thing about marriage and relationships, because then you begin to explore one another in the thinking process and the thought process. And then your spouse or significant other can be able to say that, oh no, I know the way he, not just I know what he will do, but I know why he will do it, how his mind works, how he processes things, and comes to his decisions. And I think that's the great thing about communication, the great thing about community. We begin to learn one another, we begin to communicate one another, we begin to understand the processes that allow us to become the people that we are and to do the things that we do, because we act off the things that we believe in our minds, whether we believe it or understand it. But yeah, you do really act out what you believe. If well, anyway. So the point being, I'm getting philosophical, and that's a whole other motivational speech, so we're not going to touch that right now. Okay, so the point being, so 11 to 12, then my godmother, God bless her, oh man, Sister Carson. So Sister Carson is the person I would say that has, from a role model effect in my life, she is the person that I hear. Like, there's always a person that you hear when you're doing something, particularly if you're doing something wrong. Like my mom said, Curtis Christopher Walker. But Sister Carson is the person that impacts my life so much and in so many ways. And I'm really thankful for my godmother. I had the opportunity to live with my godmother for about a couple of years. I didn't have the greatest relationship with my parents. Obviously, my father, I only saw him like maybe 4 or 5 times in my entire life. I didn't understand what the situation between he and my mom. I thought that me and my mom's relationship was strained because a lot of things that went on between them. And I'm being completely opaque here. And I know that there are other people that feel that way. Sometimes it's hard for us to say that or to admit that, but I think there is some good that comes out of that when you're able to talk about the things that wound you in life, as the Bible says, confess your faults one to another, or many other things. So I think that process of understanding that you know what you guys got going on affects me, what I do affects you, and then coming to a situation where we have to get past this as a relational aspect. I think one of the greatest things that I learned um, as a younger person was that my mom was a person, Janice. Um, Janice is the person, mom is the title and the act that is bestowed upon. She bore me and she takes care of me, and you look at her as mom, but then sometimes we forget that mom and dad are John, Jane, Rick, Bob, Sue, whoever they are, that had dreams, aspirations, goals throughout their whole life. And sometimes, and we know that they gave all of that up for you. And sometimes we don't appreciate it, or nor do we understand the depth of that sacrifice for us until we actually become parents ourselves. I am not a parent, but I can attest to the fact that you see that there's some really good parents out there. To all of you that are parents out there, then I applaud you and say well done and well deserved. I think that's one of the greatest joys in life, to see your child grow up and to become the person that you always thought he could be, and more importantly, that they think that they can be. So my godmother impacts me in so many ways. Why do you buy two of everything, my godmother? My godmother used to have pretty much two of everything in the house, whether it be sodas, candies, cookies, or whether, I guess I get my sweet taste from my godfather, who was married to my godmother, Uncle Ike. My Uncle Ike was the first person that taught me how to dress. I generally don't wear a lot of sneakers, and I get that from my godfather and my godmother. They many years ago, before the quote unquote cool kids started having the sagging pants and stuff, they were completely against it. They were completely against it, and thank God for me. And so I get my dress style and my mode and mannerisms pretty much from my godmother and my godfather. And obviously, you still have your mom as a part of who you are. You get that. So, but I'm saying it's things that I recall to this day about. Sometimes you find yourself doing things. There's a person that impacts your life much more, especially for those people that grew up in economically disadvantaged homes, that are experiencing the type of things that you experience in those type of communities where you have single parent homes. You have people that are on drugs and are addicted to drugs, and you have kids growing up as well as raising other kids. There are a unique set of issues that are apparent in these communities that are unlike other communities. And this is another thing that goes through the life that isn't necessarily fair, but yet still we're all on the same playing field. And I think that's one of the great things about the term equity, is that we try as much as possible to make sure that everybody gets the same opportunity. And what you do with that opportunity is up to you. But if we can give everybody the same opportunity, that doesn't even the playing field. No, not by any stretch of the imagination. But it does create opportunity. I think one of the worst things that happen for those socioeconomically disadvantaged communities is what I call the defeat of defeatism, which basically means that you don't believe that you can do that, or that is for you. And if that is not for you, then you defeat yourself, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you live out what it is that you believe in your mind. Like, I can never be that, so you don't aspire to it. However, there are those people that break the mold, obviously, and I don't mean just in the socioeconomically disadvantaged, but those people that break the mold in other circumstances and situational environments. And so I think that's one of the great things about life, and the great things about your circle of influence. I believe your circle of influence can change your life arc, and I'm bouncing off a lot of things, but in reality, I'm still talking about my godparents, because I was under their influence. They changed the way that I was able to think about myself, and the way I was able to think about myself, I knew that there was this possibility. That doesn't necessarily mean that I was always doing everything to reach those that possibility, to reach those goals, or set my sights on something and to go after it, and go after it really hard. But the fact is that they gave me the belief that it's possible, and I believe that that's something that each and every one of us can do, whether it be as an administrator or as an educator, whether it be a politician or whether it be a law-abiding citizen, or maybe it's John on the corner. It doesn't make a difference, but each and every one of us has a unique ability to impact the life of another person. This past weekend, I had the opportunity to go to a funeral of my cousin, and it marked out something that, death is not good with me. I'm not really good with it. Um, I was there and I saw all these people who I did not know. I saw a bunch of people, excuse me, that I do know. And the thought came to me there about your life. I then came and I wrote op-ed, however you want to call it, on my blog, that we're always in the process of graduating. And then my cousin passed on to another life. I don't, as a believer, I don't believe this is it. There's more. So just sitting there and thinking that his short span of life, and I saw all these people. I don't know any of these people, but I know they were there. I don't know why all of them were there, but nevertheless, they were there. And the impact that you have, as I've learned in my own life, that people are always watching, always listening, right? They're always thinking, and you don't really know, and you'll never know who you touch, who you don't touch, the impact of your touch, the impact of your life, the way that you go about your life. But there may be this one person throughout all your years that you may change their life for good or for bad. The op is for good, but nevertheless, we have this amazing ability to impact each other's lives, this amazing connectivity in this thing called life. And remember, I say that life is the combination of the experiences that you have, which makes it life. And there's a difference from those people that are living and those people that have life. A lot of people that are just living, just waiting for the next thing, waiting for the next check, waiting for the next year, waiting for the next car, waiting for the next moment. And then those people that are full of life. And that was one of the things that I remarked, that I hope that when we graduate from this life into the next, that a life was full, that your life was full of laughter, so that when the time comes, you can look back and nod your head and go, yeah, I did that. I had a good life. Life, as the Bible would say, full of days and full of years, and that you didn't die before your time. Because again, I'm speaking from a biblical perspective, and this is my personal opinion, obviously, that you didn't die before your time, but you lived a good life, and your good life is your good life. You can't be compared to someone else's, but it is yours, full of life, full of joy, and full of laughter. And my hope is that you fulfilled all the potential that you possibly can, and that you instilled and inspired somebody else to fulfill their potential as well. So getting back to my godmother, these are some of the things that you learn, and it was just a small period of time, just a couple of years, but the woman impacted my life that I talk about her to this day. Probably when it comes to me as a person more than anyone, I talk about Reverend Driscoll and Bishop Skelton, who were two people that took me under the wing during my dark days. So I'm going to get into that. So after that, I went back with my mom and went back to Hempstead High School. There, have a lot of people that I still know from Hempstead High School. Go Tigers! Teachers that have affected me: Miss Virginia Hubert, Arthur Morrison, who just recently passed away, Miss Scaramucci, my French teacher, and Miss Lee. Oh my goodness, the best home education cook in the world. Taught us how to make pancakes. Oh my goodness, Mr. Satilli, who I still think is the smartest person that I have ever known in my life. He was our physics teacher. These people impacted my life. Miss Curry in third grade. Miss Boss. I use her as a password sometimes, because not a password, as a question, because they asked me who was my favorite teacher in third grade. It's Miss Boss. Miss Boss. And these are the little things in life that we don't think about. But if you sat down and thought about it, you realize how many people along the way impacted your life for you to get to where you are today. think about my third grade teacher and I think about the lessons that she taught me. I appreciate it much more now than I appreciated when I was 14. I can tell you that. But you think about, I'm talking third grade, Miss Boss. Who thinks about that? High school, Virginia Hubert taught me one of the best words I'll ever use: heterochromatic. Heterochromatic. Arthur Morrison, math teacher. Miss Scaramucci, my first French crepe, took me to my first play, The Nutcracker. And all of these people, Miss Wolf at Syosset Junior High School, my English teacher took me under the wing because I was experiencing the homesickness of being around people didn't know and let me know that, hey, you're going to be okay. How many teachers impact your life? How many administrators impact your life? It's one of the great things of going to the school that I go to, that I believe that I'm impacted in many, many ways, that I will feel the lasting effect of that. Not today, not tomorrow, and even though I do, but many years from now I can look back and say, I'm blessed to have gone to that institution, and to be a part of the higher learning there, to be a part of the things that they allowed me to be a part of, and to have those experiences that transform and mold you, because you're constantly being transformed, you're constantly graduating and becoming a person, becoming the best version of yourself. At least that's the hope. So after that, the Hempstead High School was a predominantly black school, and from there, I got in trouble after I graduated high school. So I got in a lot of trouble. I got in a lot of trouble. And after that, I got out of trouble. And during the period of trouble in my life, it's a great little timer right there. During the period of trouble in my life, I met Reverend Driscoll. Reverend Driscoll passed away on January 5th, 2005. But him and Bishop Skelton took me under the wing. And he told me that, there's something out there for you. And I believed them. It's as simple as that. I believed them, and then began a reconstruction of who I am as a person. And so from that period, the formational period, as I began to educate myself, however that may be. And then I came here in 2012. 2012, I came to North Carolina on October 11th. At 3 p.m., I arrived at the bus station downtown, and I had $0, zero property, zero furniture. I did not have a car. I did not have credit. I had the shirt, the pants, the shoes, the socks, the underwear, the t-shirt, and those are all my worldly possessions. Some of the people that know me know that this story is true, and if you follow my Facebook page and you go deep down on my Facebook page, you will see that what I'm telling you is no lie, and that is the absolute 100% truth. That I arrived here at 3 p.m. on October 11, 2012, and I had nothing. I was fortunate that my mom allowed me to live with her. My first job was Pizza Hut. My next job was K&W. My next job was selling Cutco knives. I worked 3 jobs at one time, and then I got a position at Advanced Auto, which is my first corporate job in North Carolina, where I was CSR. So from there, I ended up going to Tyson Foods. And from Tyson Foods, I ended up going to Ashley. I stayed a little bit at Bidco, and then I became where I am now. So the point being is that I met Michael Oliver at Tyson Foods, and there at Tyson Foods is a unique work environment. And I used to tell people that I'm going to leave this job and want something better. And so then Michael sees me now doing the things that I am. He asked me, what is it that how do you just do what you do? And the truth of the matter is I don't really know. This is what I do know. That I'm a visualist. I visualize success, and I visualize me, and I visualize what I want, and then I learned a couple lessons. Many people in your life are going to tell you what you cannot do. That's a part of life. One thing that you can do is that when you hear people tell you what you can't do, realize that most people tell you what you can't do because they cannot do it themselves. Nor do they want you to do it, because most people want to fit in. But you were not born to fit in. And that's why you're here today. You were not born to be put into anyone's mold. God made you unique and special and set you apart and gave you a separate life, different from mine, but yet unique. And so you have to walk that path. Now, during the course of walking your path, you're going to have to make the decision. Who do you want to be? I remember speaking at Sixth Street School, and I told them, I'm going to say a couple things. I'm going to tell you some things about me that you know and that you don't know. But the most important thing that I'm going to tell you is that you're not who people tell you that you are. You need to learn how to define yourself. And when you define yourself, then you can walk your own road. But if you let people define who you are, then you might as well let them live your life for you. And I refuse to let people live my life for me, in spite of the fact that there may be some backlash to that. There may be people that think that who you think you are, what do you think you're going to do? But this is what I do know. What I told Michael 6 or 7 years ago, I'm doing right now. And the results speak for themselves. So you have to choose, what you do is not who you are. But if you know who you are, then you're probably going to do some incredible things. And incredible things doesn't necessarily mean what other people mean incredible things, but it means incredible things for your life. If that means you becoming the best father that you can be, knowing where you came from, that's going to be incredible. If that means you getting the degree that you want, that nobody else believed that you can do, that's going to be incredible. If that means that you go for the position at your job that people are telling you that you cannot get and that you will not get, but you keep knocking on the doors, we say, and I say this over and over, if you have to knock on 1,000 doors to get one person to answer, then knock on 1,000 doors. Keep knocking, keep asking, keep seeking until you get what you want. You have to be unrelenting and uncompromising in your life to get where you want to get, because you're the only person that's going to do it. Invest in you like you invest in other people. And I always say that. I'm thankful for the people that are around me that invest in me. But the most important investment that I will ever make in my own life is investing in myself. You have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your well-being. And I'm not talking about to love yourself and, think that you're all that. What I'm telling you is that it's okay. It's okay to want to do good for yourself. It's okay to want to be the best person that you can be. It's okay to want to do good in life. It's okay to want to be understanding and kind and all the good things that we esteem as being morally right. It's okay. It's not a bad thing. So the thing that I guess inspires me the most when he asks me, says, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? What is it that's stopping you? Instead of thinking about what you can't do, find out what you need to do to get what you want to get. I'm going to say that again. Instead of thinking about what you can't do, find out what you need to do in order to get what you want to get. For instance, when I look outside and say, you have this car, whatever the case may be. This is 2020. In 2012, I had zero. I have no credit. I had zero credit. I had no cars. I remember my first car down here was a Mazda Tribute. Oh my God, it was a lemon. And I remember the transmission went out 30 days. Went back to the dealer. Said, well, I don't know. We can't fix that. It's buy here, pay replace. Put $1,000 out on the car, walked to the car lot. Said, at least I got a car. I can get back and forth to work. I was a Pizza Hut delivery driver right there on Peters Creek Parkway. Yes, I was. Yes, I was. $6.25. I worked for $2.25 at KMW plus tips. The whole object of doing those jobs was I'm just going to take any job, because the end is not the beginning. It's not. It's not where you're going to end up at. But you do need to start somewhere. If you're going to do anything, the first step may be the most important step. But if you never take the first step, then you're never going to get anywhere in life. Nowhere. But you need to take the first step, and you take that first step and just leap out there and say, you know what? It's not so bad as I thought it was. No, you didn't die. The world didn't end. The house didn't burn down. You're going to be okay. You're going to make it. First car was a lemon. And I remember my car breaking down. I went somewhere, children's sporting event, drove to McDonald's, got out, got something to eat, got back in my car. It would not go in reverse. One, it's embarrassing for you try to push your car, because that's one thing. That's the only pet peeve that I have. I hate being embarrassed in public. And then I sat there realizing that I worked so hard. and I'm doing everything I can. I remember sitting in my car crying to God and telling him, like, I'm doing it, I'm trying, and now I'm just gonna lose everything because I felt, me, that if I couldn't get to work, I was gonna lose my job. If I didn't get my job, I had no paycheck, I had no paycheck. I was gonna, be out in the streets. And I'm saying this stuff because this is the reality of life for many people that live paycheck to paycheck. That was one of my goals, that I didn't want to live paycheck to paycheck. I think that, there's definitely some good to starting up enough money to be 6 months sufficiency, and then at least a year sufficient, and then maybe 2 or 3 years sufficient. So if anything happened, that you have something to fall back on. Nevertheless, I remember crying, and this is what I'm telling you. Now I could have said I can't do it, but then I met someone that still impacts my life today. My financier. They allowed me to get a loan. With that loan, I fixed my car. Not only I fixed my car, but then I bought another car. Too, it's like my godmother told me. So next time that this event happens, if that car breaks down, I would have a car to fall back on. That's a lesson I learned at 12. That lesson impacted my life today. So I was driving my car back and forth to Wilkesboro, North Carolina, with no reverse. No reverse. I would park in the parking lot and find a spot. I would drive around until I could find a spot that I could just pull straight in. And I did that for a little bit until I actually got the loan. But the point being is that I could have just said, that's it. You can quit. Same for me. Pack my bags. Call it a day. But I think that sometimes you need to think about what it is that I need to do to get what I need to get to where I need to go. And that is a part of me that I believe that we all should have. And I know that we all have it. Sometimes we just don't bring it out. Intestinal fortitude. What do you do when life hits you? What do you do? Because it's going to hit you. We all get hit. We all get hit. What do you do? What do you do? As they say that if you squeeze your orange and it's an apple, well, it's not an orange. It's an apple. And this is the part that I get back to when I say that what you do isn't who you are. But if you know who you are, it will change what you do. Because who you are is what holds everything together. Many of us do things. We go to work, we go to the gym, we go to school, we go to parties, we go on vacations. But that's not who we are. Those are things that we do. But who you are, and I think that sometimes we need to sit back and step down and get down to who we really are. As they say that most people don't want to be in a room, in a quiet room by themselves, because then they're listening to themselves. They got to see themselves. And some of us have problems with that. But I think that my life has taught me that, I definitely want to know who I am. Because who I am is going to tell me what I'm going to do. Tell me what I'm going to do. It's going to tell me what I'm going to do. And then I can have faith in the fact that, yeah, I'm going to do what I need to do. And that is something that pushes me. And that is something that I think about a lot. I think about the things that were said to me as a child. I think about the negative things. And then I kind of conquer those negative things. It's like a little battle that you have. And I think it's a healthy battle. It's like, oh, I remember when people said this. That's okay. And I remember when I was at Tyson Food, and I used to say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this house and I'm going to get that. Yeah. But it's true. In spite of what anybody else says about you, in spite of if the world is against you, invest in you. You're important and you deserve it. You deserve it. If nobody deserves it, you deserve it. You need to tell yourself that more and more. That I deserve the best for me. And there's no reason that you have to settle for less. There's no reason. So after that, driving my car back and forth, I was fortunate to get a loan. Ended up moving out to Wilkesboro, which is where I met Michael Oliver. So Michael, this goes out to you again. And then from Wilkesboro to now. So from when I left Wilkesboro, had another car, bought my first Dodge Charger. Now I'm on my third Dodge Charger. And I've had the ability to get some other cars, and I have a boat, and I have jet skis, and people see me with jet skis, and they see me on the boat. And this isn't about bragging or anything. This is the point of saying that, these are things that I wanted. In the span of 8 years, I had no credit. And now I have credit. I didn't have the ability to live from check to check. The average person in the United States, believe it or not, I think it's about 50 to 60% of the people live from check to check. And then there's another 20% on top of that, that if they lost their job, would be in serious financial difficulties within, I think it's 60 to 90 days. But that's the precariousness of life that we all live with, particularly when you're single. It's a lot, it's fun on some aspects, but financially it can be a bit of a challenge. So I wanted jet skis. I didn't have the money, but I had to think in my mind, like, well, what do I need to do? The relationship that I made that allowed me to get the loan the first time allowed me to get the jet skis this time, because I built that relationship over time with the same credit union, which allows me to get the car that I drive, both cars from the same credit union and the same person. That initial relationship that came to my aid, it's still a part of my life. I like to think that we're friends. The home that I'm living, this home right now, is through relationships. And I think that's one of the great things, like getting back to what I said in the beginning about, life is a combination of experiences that you encounter that makes life, and then communication and the ability to establish relationships, to build in those relationships, to believe in those relationships, and the force of those relationships. Those people that are investing in you, you invest back in them, but ultimately invest in yourself as well. Those relationships allow me to get to where I am now, and I'm not anywhere right now. But to other people, they may see that and think that, oh, okay, life's good. I have my problems, like you have your problems as well. And I think that ultimately it comes down again to who you are, how it is that you think. How do you feel? I mean, do you ask yourself, how do I feel about my life, about where I am at life? Is there something that I can do? Right? And even though I may seem like got it all together, I'm a little bit of a procrastinator. And I know it. I know that's something that I need to work on in my own life. But I'm honest with me. If there's one person in the world that I need to be honest with, it's me. You could lie to everybody else, but ultimately, and I don't encourage you to lie to everybody else, but I'm saying ultimately, you have to tell yourself the truth. You have to tell yourself the truth. And you have to tell yourself the brutal truth. The brutal truth. Not a half truth, but the brutal truth. Am I really like that? Yes. Did I really say that? Yes. Do I really think like that? Yes. Yes. But if you don't say that, you go, nah, that's not who I am. And you repeat the process over, eventually you just have to be like, that's probably who I am. Yeah. I probably do feel that way. I probably do think that way. I probably don't like that person. Yeah. Yeah. That's me. And once you do that, now you can start the process of evolving yourself, changing yourself, and chipping away at the little minor blemishes in your own life. Because those little minor blemishes, it could be just a small thing that holds you back. That holds you back from getting to where it is that you want to go. And again, your success is your success. And you should not measure that against somebody else. And that's a great thing, because I have a 91 Bayliner. I do not have a yacht. I want a yacht. I admit that I do. And there's nothing wrong with me admitting that I do. But I don't. So I can't measure my boat on the next person. I can't measure my car. I don't have a $200,000 car. Not that I would want one, but I don't have that. I have a Charger. But to me, that's what I wanted, which another thing that culture is a major impact, because I went to the dealership, I bought the car that I want. And I tell people this all the time. When you go in the parking lot, when you go in the dealership lot, don't walk off the lot with something that you don't want. Because you don't want to be driving down the street and going, wow. Get the car that you want. Unless you can't, and then you have to wait. And when you can, then go get the car that you want. And that is my deal. And I tell people this all the time. I want to be able to go into a car lot and buy what I want, and of course not have any payments. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. Because there's no sense in me going there and buying something that I really am not pleased with, something that doesn't really make me happy, and being envious or jealous of someone else and what they have, because I don't want to be envious or jealous, and I'm not envious or jealous of anybody. I have the things that I want. I buy the things that I want. I do the things that I like to do. And it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be something that everybody else needs to do, because Curtis is just Curtis. He's one person. I am not a bunch of other people, and I don't have other people living lives within me. I have to live my own life, and I encourage most people to do that. I encourage you to be the unique person that you are. I think that you bring something to the table that nobody else can bring. There will never be another person like you. Never. There will never be another person like you. You're the only one. You are God's gift to the world. Spread that gift. Spread that gift. Be who you were made to be. Aspire to what only you can aspire to do. You are great, and you are filled with greatness. Let it out. Let it out. So getting back to Michael, I guess the traumatic thing is I was, and I'm being a little bit too open. So I was married for a little bit, and then I remember being out in the street while I was after the episode of my life, and I talked about this at the 6th Street School. Nobody knew this but a couple people. I had to get up and go to work. I had to get up and go to school. And I remember telling them that, as I was sitting there, that you have a choice. I had all my clothes in my car, all thrown out in the street and all that other good stuff. You have a choice. I could sit here and I can cry and do nothing, or I can get up and say, you know what? God, you got it. I'm going to go to work, because I can't change that. And that is one of the key ingredients of me getting to where I am, Michael, and doing the things that I do. But I can sit back and say, life hit me, and I don't really know what to do, or I can get up and go, you know what? Okay, this is what I know that I can do, so I'm going to do it. And I'll worry about the rest along the way. And that is the key to me getting to where I want to get. Just saying, you know what? I can't control all the rest of the stuff, but the things that I can control, I'm going to do them. And I do them. And I just keep marching on. And my favorite line is, if you keep chopping wood, the tree will fall. So, that's all I have. I appreciate you having the opportunity to listen to me, and I appreciate me being able to share something. Keep chopping wood. God bless you.